For today's everyday moment video, I'm going to share about a not so everyday moment. The Shelley Fire started on July 3rd, and we saw smoke start to come up behind the ranch, and we knew that there was a forest fire. But from everything that we heard, it was small, it was contained, it was deep in the wilderness. Well, that fire grew over about a week's time, and it started to threaten the communities of Etna, of Greenview, of Quartz Valley. As the fire grew, we saw more and more firefighters come into the valley from all over the country. We sat on the ranch Saturday night in lawn chairs watching this fire creep down the mountain and praying that it would stop and wondering, what God's will was, what's God's plan for how this is going to unfold. And then came Monday. And Monday, we were again expecting a storm system to move in, but they had assured us that there was very little moisture in it. But in fact, the opposite was true. And we stood on the student house porch and we watched as God performed a miracle. Where this storm system was supposed to contain no moisture, we watched as rain poured down on the fire for over 2 hours. All along the week, we had been reaching out to virtually everyone that we know, asking them to pray. The fire captain who was here at the ranch, he said, I've got my folks praying back at home. We just heard from so many people. I've got my church praying. I've got my small group praying. I've got my family praying. I don't know how many people were praying, but the number had to be in the thousands. And we got to watch and experience together with you God answering those prayers, God hearing those prayers. And it was an absolute moment of joy to see this fire get extinguished from this rain. There's a moment after you experience something like this where it just feels surreal. And I remember walking around the ranch later that day and night just thinking, God, we were on the edge of our seats for the last week. We didn't know what was going to happen. We were, scenarios were running through our minds constantly of, okay, what if the ranch burns or any number of different outcomes happen. And God, you delivered the best possible outcome. And we are so, so grateful. And from that moment, the word just kept coming to mind that we need to remember this. This is one of those moments that God has given us where He showed us how He intervened supernaturally to prevent disaster, and we will remember it. And so as we have reflected on the Shelley Fire, as we've reflected on the last week, 2 weeks that we've been through, God has also reminded us that not only is He present, not only is He faithful in these big moments, in these kind of dramatic moments, but that He's also faithful and present in the everyday moments, in the moments that we take for granted, in the moments where we wonder if He's with us. And these big stories, these stories of God just intervening so clearly, are the opportunities that we have to remember on a big scale. But it's the everyday moments where we can so easily forget that God is faithful on the small scale. And so we want to encourage you and we want to thank you for your prayers, because I believe that they were absolutely heard and answered in this big moment. And we want to encourage you to keep praying. Keep praying for those things in your life. Keep praying for those things in the student's life that feel like, God, where are you? Because He is faithful and present in the big, and He is faithful and present in the small. And it's our job as the body of Christ, as the church, to pray and to remember.